So I'm really excited to introduce our first speakers. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of what they're going to speak about today, it's really about our most valuable customers, those and how we build customer loyalty and brand loyalty, right? And so what they're going to speak to us a little bit about today is sort of post-purchase journeys. How do we better build that relationship? How do we expand our products and our channels to grow our business and grow our customer base? And really, at the end of the day, right, increase customer lifetime value. So I'm super excited to introduce to you first Melissa Dixon, who is the Director of Content for BigCommerce, and Kabeer Chopra, who is the CTO and co-founder of Burrow. So Kabeer, Melissa, please feel free to join us.
All right, hello everyone. We are super excited to be here today, and we only have about 20 minutes together. It's gonna fly by, so we can get right into it. Kabeer, thank you for joining me today, and I'm thinking let's start with some background. Can you tell the audience a little bit about Burrow and your retail presence today?
Yeah, so at Burrow we make furniture, mostly seating products, which I'm a little, apprehensive of the ones I'm sitting on right now because they're not Burrow. But it all started with my own personal experience. I moved down to Philadelphia in 2015 for business school, and one of the things I had to do was furnish my apartment. Everything was set up. The only thing remaining was a sofa. For some reason, that was the hardest piece to fit in or fill the room with. And I kind of had two choices. One was buy something you would throw away that was cheap, and I felt like I was old enough where I wanted something nice, but I would have to wait 6 months, and I was in business school for 18, so it didn't make sense. Regardless, it seemed like I had to make a compromise. At the same time, I'd bought a mattress online that shipped in a box, came next day, and I slept on it the very next day. So kind of took my experience with the sofa that I was planning to buy and the mattress and kind of put them together, started as a class project, and out of which came Burrow. So the problem there with the sofa was fairly obvious. People always had to make a compromise. You don't know if something you bought today would fit into your next apartment. You would have to wait months. You would have to get insurance for bringing it up an elevator. So a lot of things that just didn't work. And we took an outside approach to it, almost like an engineering kind of approach, and thought about the problems that customers go through. The big aha moment for us was when we discovered that shipping was 70% of the cost of buying a sofa, or not 70% of the cost, but that we could ship a sofa that's shipped in boxes. It would be 70% cheaper than what anyone else could do. And it made so much sense for customers because the sofa is fully modular. You buy a love seat today, you can expand it to an 8-seater tomorrow if you need to. And operationally for us, it made so much sense to sell these boxes. Inventory management's easier from an operational standpoint, storing them, and mixing and matching SKUs, and that management becomes a lot easier. So obviously, with seating, it was obvious what the problems were, but that's not always the case, right? We've moved on from seating to dining, outdoor, bedroom, and we always go back to what the issue is with that particular category or product. Another example is, it's been 6 years since we started the business, and we launched a sleeper sofa only last week. We've always been pressured to launch it, but it didn't make sense when we started the business. Our customers weren't ready, and what they were telling us was that we don't need something to sleep 2 or 3 people or whatever it is, right? We need something to host. And so we developed a product called a Sleep Kit, which just converts any sofa into a single bed.
Well, I love, that you're so intentional with product and category expansion. And I wanted to talk about that because you have quite a robust expansion strategy in terms of channel expansion, geographical expansion, and product expansion. So tell us a little bit about each of those and really the impact that they've had on customer growth for Burrow.
Yeah, our product expansion strategy has always been pretty intentional. We always want to minimize the number of SKUs we have at any given point in any category. We started with one seating collection that kind of compares to like a polo shirt. It's very classic. If you think of a bell curve along many axes, whether it's design or price, we're kind of in the middle. And to that end, we really wanted to target a specific customer, early 30s, kind of getting into their first home or ready to buy that next stage of furniture. Obviously, since then, we've had to grow our customer base. So we've taken that same approach across different customer segments and said, let's build collections that are the same thing that they were for the first customer set for these customers.
Right.
So that's really helped expand our customer base. But then at the same time, to get people back into the door, we've had to expand categories. But again, it's the same approach, right? Whether it's outdoor or dining, we're not going to launch with 100 or 200 SKUs. We're going to survey customers, understand what they need from those products or those categories, build out many different versions of those products, and then survey them again at the end of our sort of product build life cycle to figure out which ones we should actually buy and then sell to the customers.
Yeah, that's so smart. And I did want to ask you too, what have you learned from customers in all of this expansion? I mean, that's really impactful in terms of informing the product and the channel mix and all of that. So what are some of those insights that you've gleaned as you've expanded that have helped you refine your strategy?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the brand has to grow with the customer. I talked about our sleep kit, that we were never ready for it. And now, 6 years down the line, we've launched a sleeper sofa.
What made you ready?
Yeah, exactly right. So over the last few years, having attracted different segments of customers and our original customer base literally growing 6 years older, they have more income, they have second rooms, they have offices that they need to furnish. So we took the same approach of surveying them and understanding what the biggest problem now was with sleeper sofas. They're massively uncomfortable as a sofa and a bed. It's either the springy thing or something you pull out. So we took kind of reversed what a sleeper sofa meant and took a mattress and made that a sofa. So again, like just the focus on customer research, using the 150,000 customers we already have to then go and build a product that we know they'll buy. It's been a week since we launched that product. We're sold out of our first buy.
Amazing.
Yes, maybe we bought less than we should have, but the whole point is we know that people are ready to buy this. So that's the approach we've been taking from them. I think the other thing we learned through the pandemic is we kind of need to meet our customers in the channels they're in. Mm-hmm. We've always been focused on direct, and we have now, I think, 4 or 5 retail showrooms, which is, both are doing the same thing. They're kind of removing the friction for customers to go in and buy the product. The third channel that came out of the pandemic was this kind of hybrid virtual sales channel, which allowed people to call in, consult with our retail staff, and then our retail staff would build carts for these customers, send them payment links to go in and check out. And so, it's not something we imagined we would do, but it just came out of our customers evolving and requesting that from us.
And what about the marketing mix in terms of those different channels? I mean, how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, it's primarily always been a lot of direct. Initially, it was a very singular strategy in terms of, we didn't really have to segment customers across many different things. But as we've evolved, and more of late, we've been investing more heavily into things like direct mail, mm-hmm. And changing up the strategy across those segments. In some of our better performing segments with direct mail, we have 8x ROAS. Our digital channels only give 3 or 4x. Wow. So, it's being able to really segment out your customers, and then the mix for them has proven a lot more effective than our prior strategies of just this singular approach.
I love some direct mail. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your tech stack. So what are some of the tools that have had the greatest impact on your business? And, got a few on this slide, but anything else you want to mention, please do.
Our e-commerce platform for the last 5 years has been BigCommerce. I think we've grown 10x in revenue with it. And I think a few of the highlights for us have been 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, we expanded into Canada. That was made seamless because we were able to use the same product catalog in the US and Canada and use the same platform. So all the other tools around our platform stayed the same, but you were able to use that single source of truth to really market to both markets. The other thing, and this was just before the pandemic, we were able to condense our online shopping experience with our point of sale system. We were always frustrated that they had different platforms, and being able to bring retail and e-commerce together to use a single source of truth was fantastic. And I guess given the recent recessionary type of environment, one thing that's been challenging for us is a lot of our competitors are able to offer larger discounts than we can. And we're priced pretty competitively with an all-in pricing and free shipping. So they're able to attract a lot more traffic than we can. Traditionally, we've always used a percentage off or a tiered promotion strategy, and we saw that that wasn't working as well. So we pivoted to a markdown strategy that combined with Feedonomics. So BigCommerce combined with Feedonomics was able to push out those markdown prices to all our different channels. So Facebook ads, Google search, the whole shebang.
Yeah, awesome. Can you tell the audience a little bit about how you're using Feedonomics and what it does? Because yes, I am a little bit biased, but I think it's such an amazing tool, and we always see such great results from merchants like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of centralized pricing tool, right? Like we're able to run multiple pricing experiments with it across different products and push them out to multiple channels instantaneously. And why that's great for us is not only does it control the pricing that people see, but also live inventory levels, et cetera. So you're never pushing out content or spending on ads that don't make sense for customers. And again, like with the change in environment, like that strategy has worked out a lot better because now we're getting more traffic on site because they're seeing lower prices up front. Our add to cart rates have actually gone down, which is not as great, but overall, our conversion rate has increased.
Okay.
So end-to-end funnels, it's become a lot better.
Yeah. You mentioned, the learnings around strike-through pricing and how sales are displayed and all of that. And I know I've talked to a lot of our BigCommerce merchants that are sort of struggling with promotional strategy right now and trying to balance brand equity and promotional strategy. So how are you working to achieve this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still offering what we believe are the best prices online, right? We're not going to change that. I think where we try to win is in building experiences. So yes, getting the people on site may be a little bit more expensive in terms of that initial acquisition cost because we have to work that much harder. But once we do get the customer, I think that's when our real journey with them begins. As a business, our goal is to get at least a 40% repeat purchase rate and increase that lifetime value. And we can only be successful with that if we're attracting customers and wowing them after the fact. So and tying this back to our tech stack, what's been really important is because we ship you a sofa in boxes, making sure all of it arrives on time, all the boxes are fully trackable and visible, over communicating that order status. And then, once you do get that, giving you explainer videos, how-tos, and then bringing you into the fold for what are the new products we're going to release, as well giving you opportunities for referring others. So really taking care of you after the fact so that you come back at that higher acquisition cost.
Yeah, these are great tactics that you mentioned. And it was interesting yesterday, one of our other BigCommerce merchants from Solo Stove, John Maris, was talking, and he was talking about having a direct relationship with your customers and getting them obsessed with your brand is really the fastest way to grow. And I feel like you are like-minded in that. I mean, we all strive for that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about rolling out the red carpet for them, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, like the journey with the customer for us starts after they've purchased, right? Like, and our product expansion category or expansion strategy solely depends on our customer base. As I was mentioning earlier, when we do have a product idea, the first person that sees it is our customer. We send out that survey, then we go through iterations of the product, and we've finally decided on a version of it. We go back to the customers to see which colors, which variants to buy. That minimizes inventory risk for us, but also gives the customer buy-in because then they feel like they've been part of the process.
Right.
They've been brought into the fold, and they're ready to buy it when they do see it live.
Which is even more important for those younger generations. And as they age, we know that millennials and Gen Z too want to be involved. So it works to everyone's advantage, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, we talked a little bit earlier, I think, about the post-purchase of tracking and shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, that's topmost because I think if you take an NPS survey across all the different furniture brands, most of them are negative. Our NPS has been inching towards 60, which for our category is kind of unheard of.
That's great.
And a lot of it, with the singular correlated variable is, did I get my order on time?
Yep.
Specifically for furniture.
Awesome. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. AI, hot topic. And you were telling me some interesting things when we were chatting before the session. So tell the audience how you're utilizing AI tools.
Yeah, so superficially, we've been using it for a lot of content needs, rewriting scripts or ads, etc. But I think the most useful scenario for us most recently has been storyboarding creative shoots, where we take in a product silo, put that as a prompt to something like Midjourney, and then put in what kind of scenery we want to see it in and let it generate ideas and storyboards. So our entire Sleeper Sofa campaign was kind of generated by a combination of ChatGPT and Midjourney that we went and then shot. It doesn't take away the entire work of the shoot, but it takes away a lot of the initial, like, what could this look like?
Right.
And then you kind of pinpoint and see where you want to do. So right now, that is kind of our use case. Obviously, we use other AIs to do a lot of audience pruning, et cetera, but this is where generative AI has been most useful for us.
Yeah, that's super cool about the storyboarding. Okay, in this last minute, if there's one thing that you want the audience to retain from this session in terms of ultimately building brand loyalty, what's your big, learning that you've experienced at Burrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe not so much on the loyalty, but there's always an urgency to push product, right? You always want to build and grow, and I think what we've learned over the last 6-7 years is you need to be at the stage where it makes sense for you. And we've gone into that trap too many times where we've either tried to build tools or products that just didn't make sense for our audience. So it's really important to go back and get a sanity check. Like, do people really need this? So that's been the most useful thing for us.
That's great advice. And also, if you haven't checked out Burrow's site, it's gorgeous, and I'm not just saying that because it's a BigCommerce site. Their product is beautiful, so give it a look. Thank you so much, Kabeer, for those fantastic insights.